Wake up, we're here. So much worse than we feared. There's nothing left here. Our country has disappeared.
Here we are after about 3 decades, about 3 weeks since Donald Trump was sworn in as the 45th president of the United States, a little over 3 weeks actually. And I want to put forward a bit of a counterintuitive argument here, but I do think it has merit, which is that Donald Trump isn't lying to us when he constantly makes statements that are false, but that he's actually trying to convince us of the one truth that he knows in life, or at least the one central fact that he's tried so hard to make himself believe in life, and that is that Donald Trump is the greatest. There are a lot of little subcategories within this central truth of Donald Trump being the greatest, which is that he's the smartest, he's the strongest, that he is uniquely able to solve all of our problems and uniquely able to save us from the crises that we're currently facing as a country. And I think if you accept that premise that Donald Trump is just trying to convey that central truth, the one truth that he seems to care about in life, I think that the rest of the things he says, they start to make sense to us. We can see them in a different way. You just have to understand that Donald Trump simply does not use language the way that most adults use language. When I say most adults, I mean like all mature adults in leadership positions use language differently than Trump. They use language to convey information content, to describe the world around them, to assess different ideas, to assess the abilities of other people. These are all very important things, obviously, to be president. But Donald Trump does not use language in this way. He uses language to convey that one central truth, which is that he's the greatest. So if you think about the things that Trump says, which are not true, you look at two main categories. You have personal lies that he says that sort of inflate his personality and his personal glorification. He does that with the crowd sizes from his inauguration. He does it when he says that 3 to 5 million people voted illegally for Hillary Clinton. If you look at both of those instances, really what it's about is Trump's refusal to believe that Barack Obama could draw a bigger crowd than he could, or that Hillary Clinton possibly could have got more votes than he could, because in his mind, he's the greatest, and so no one could beat him. No one could be more loved than Donald Trump because he is the greatest. And so he will just reject any information to the contrary. He said recently, he literally said that any negative polls about my policies, so if you ever see a poll that says that, for example, most American people don't want the border wall with Mexico, or that most Americans oppose his travel ban / immigration ban, those are fake news by definition. Anything that makes Donald Trump look bad is fake news. And that's obviously sort of hilarious that any adult would say something like that, would just say, it would be like, a kid coming home with a report card and saying, "Mom, I know I got some D's and some F's here, and I got some A's too. Here's the thing, the A's are all real grades that I actually earned, but the D's and the F's, those are fake grades. The teacher is giving me fake grades when I get these. Don't pay any attention to them. They're not real. Only the A's are the real grades." But what's sort of funny about that is that even a little kid, like a kid in the 3rd grade, knows that that's so stupid, no one would believe that. Like hardly any kid would even try to use that excuse because it's so dumb and so unbelievable. But we have the president doing the equivalent of that, telling us that anytime we see something that reflects poorly on him, it's actually fake news. It's made up. And of course, Trump is more than happy to tweet out positive polls, any poll that shows that the American people agree with him or that they like some aspect of his leadership, no matter what the source is. It can be some poll that you've never heard of. He'll tweet those out. He'll brag about them. He wants you to see them, just like a little kid would want to show you all of the A's that he got, and would want you to believe that his failing grades are fake grades. That's what the president does. So all politicians sort of do these things to an extent. All politicians inflate their accomplishments. They try to take credit for things they probably shouldn't take credit for. If they are running against someone who's already in office for a position, they will exaggerate how bad things are at the time. So none of this is completely unique, but they also have an expectation that you sort of know what the truth is, and that we all are interested in knowing the actual facts. And so that sort of limits them on how much they will say these kind of things. Most people, too, just have a personal aversion to saying things that they know are not true. But I think Trump can do that because he just doesn't care. Like, he has recently said that the murder rate is the highest it's been in 45 years, when in fact it's almost the lowest it's been in 45 years. Now, that would bother, like if I said that, that would really bother me, because I want to know what the true statistic is. And I would have to say, oh, I'm sorry, I got that just about backwards. But Trump doesn't, he's unencumbered by those kind of things because he doesn't care what the number is. And I think in his mind, it doesn't matter what the number is. What matters is that we all know there's too much crime. And I know that I'm the only person that can solve this problem. So if I got to tell you that the murder rate is the highest it's been in 45 years, when even in fact if it's the lowest, that doesn't matter, and I actually don't care about that. I'm just conveying the central truth that I know, which is that I am uniquely able to handle our problems. So therefore, I'm going to say whatever I have to say. And I think he does this constantly. He does it with such unbelievable frequency that it just sort of leaves people flabbergasted that are trying to cover him. I think he's just about completely exhausted the news media. And people like myself who follow politics really closely, it's just bewildering. But I think that this sort of does explain what Donald Trump is doing. He's not, in his own mind, perhaps, he's not actually lying. I mean, if you could really get inside his mind and force him to answer for these things, I think what would come out is that, well, I don't really care what the number is. And that's not important to me. Like, all I know is that there's too much crime. We have too many problems, and I'm going to solve those problems. I can do it because I'm strong. I am really smart. I am really powerful. I don't know if you've noticed that about me, but I am the best, and I will handle it. And so I think if you can accept that premise, that Donald Trump really only experiences this one truth in life, and that really his mission is to convince everyone else of that truth, everything else he says begins to make sense. And therefore, what is lying for everyone else, we can see as Trump actually just trying to convince us of his one truth. So really, it's not an issue of him so much being dishonest. It's the fact that he only cares about one truth. Everybody else sort of cares about multiple things, and they're interested in different facts and different assessments. It really seems to me that it's just as simple as Donald Trump only has one truth that he's constantly trying to convey in everything that he does, and that comes across in his language, and it looks to us like lying, and it would be lying for just about anybody else we know, but Donald Trump is not anyone else that we know. It's Donald Trump, the president, and he's just simply using language almost in a unique way to convey that one truth. Now, I don't know if this helps anybody feel better about what's going on, if it reduces your rage at the current political situation. If that's something that you've been feeling, it certainly is something that I've been feeling. But I do think that it helps us to understand Trump's mind a little bit and the way that he uses language, and that you just can't apply normal logic, and you can't use the lens of normal adult behavior when you're trying to assess Donald Trump.